And sixth graders, today we're going to talk about some properties of numbers again. Let's review the properties that we learned before. Commutative property. What is the commutative property and what operations can you use with the commutative property? Emily? Okay, it works for addition or multiplication. And what does the property say? What does that property mean? Daria?
You can put numbers together in different orders so that it's the same answer.
Yeah. And then I wrote an example, right?
Oh.
The example?
Negative 5 times 8 or 8 times negative 5 equals negative 4.
Yeah. And what's different about these two? They're just switched around, right? It works for addition and it works for multiplication. Okay? Does it work for division?
No.
Does 10 divided by negative 5 is what? 10 divided by negative 5.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. What's negative 5 divided by 10?
0. I mean negative
0. Negative 0 point.
Well, you can have negative 0 because it's neutral.
No.
I
Negative 5 over 10. What's negative 5 over 10? 5/10, which is, what's 5/10?
5.
Concentrate.
Oh.
5 out of 10. 5/10. 0.5. Negative 0.5. Or negative 1/2. Not negative 2, right? It doesn't work for division. It doesn't work for subtraction. It only works for multiplication and addition. Okay? Some properties of 0. Okay? Any number times 0 is 0. So negative 3 times 0 is 0. Or 1/5 times 0 is 0. Any number plus 0 is,
That number.
what's that called, Daria? Focus, please. Don't talk right now. It says it up there. Which one? Any number plus
any number plus
0 is 0 is called the,
identity.
yes, it's called the identity property. Okay? It's called the identity. So you need to look up here and follow along instead of talking. Okay? Well then why weren't you looking up here and following along?
Because I was giving it
Okay. What about, what does the order of operations mean? Jen? Good. So you have to work inside parentheses first. You have to do all exponents. Then you can multiply and divide, then you can add and subtract outside parentheses. What about inside parentheses if there's more than one operation? What if inside the parentheses you have exponents and you have addition and then you have division? What do? Alex?
Then exponent.
Exponents.
And then you multiply and divide it from left to right and then add and subtract.
Yes, so when you're working inside the parentheses, you also have to follow the order of operations. Okay? What's the associative property? Lindsay? Yes. So if you have three numbers you're multiplying, you can do 4 times 25 and then multiply it by 6. Or you can do 6 times 25 and then multiply it by 4. And by moving the parentheses, and that's what the associative property you should look for when you're thinking, is this associative property? You should look for if it has parentheses. Okay? Now, not every single problem with parentheses is the associative property. Okay? But the associative property is oftentimes has parentheses that are moved from one thing to the other. Okay? So let's talk about how to apply this. How to use these properties.
I will wait.
Which property could we use with this problem? Which two properties could we use? Is the zero property in here?
No.
No, none of the zero properties. So, Bryce?
Commutative property,
We could use the commutative property. How?
by you could switch them around.
Good, we could switch them around, and would that make sense to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it would. If we look at this problem, and we add it to this first, would that make the problem easier? Wouldn't it? Focus here. What would this be?
5 plus
Max?
Like the entire question or just?
No, just these two. If we put these two together first.
2?
Close. Negative 2.5 plus 0.5. So one is negative and one is positive. Means we have to.
-2.
Yes, because the negative is bigger. This is going to be -2, the answer. See, we take away one of the, we take away a 0.5, and we're left with -2. So then -2 plus 3.8,
is
1.8.
1.8. Okay? So by applying the commutative property, it made that one a little easier. Otherwise, this is 4.3 plus -2.5, and we'd still get the same answer. But this way you can do it in your head, because you're just taking away 2 once you combine these. How about this one? How do you multiply a whole number times a mixed number? This property we actually didn't
it would be a negative.
talk about yet, but Brett.
All I know is it will be a negative number.
Okay, it's going to equal a negative answer because one is negative and one is positive. Okay, Daria.
When you change the whole, yeah, you would do that, you would make it into
Good. And what would that be as a top-heavy fraction?
17 seconds.
17 sevenths.
Yeah.
Yep. 17 sevenths. Now, when we multiply this by -7, we have to make this a fraction. How do you make this rational number a fraction? We talked about this in the first lesson. Tyler? Good, write it over 1. Now, we can reduce this. -7 and 7 can be reduced. -7 divided by 7. This is actually the reciprocal property. Right? Well, it's kind of like reciprocals, except it equals -1. So negative 1 times 17. Roy?
17.
Nope.
Negative.
Negative 17. How about this one? What would we do first? Bryce?
Add the zero to the 5.6.
Well, since we're not adding, we don't need a 0. But what if we did negative 5.6 times 1?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, that's just, right. That's just negative 5.6. So we can do this problem by doing negative 5.6 times 0.35.
Hey, but wouldn't you have to go from left to right if you're multiplying? So wouldn't you have to do 0.35 times 5.6?
With commutative property, we could switch these around since they're all multiplication. Okay, but we could write it that way. Do we have to line up the decimals when we're doing this? No, we count them up at the end. So, 6 times 5, what's 6 times 5, class? 6 times 3?
15.
18. Plus 3 is? 21. We don't have to worry about the 0. 5 times 5? 5 times 3 is? 15. Plus 2 is? 17. Add those up. 0, 6, 9, 1. Now, what do we do with the decimal points? Ariana? Why?
Because it's behind 0.
Yep. So there's 3 numbers behind the decimal point, and we have to move the decimal point and 3 numbers in from the left. Or sorry, from the right. We have to move the decimal point in 3 places to the left. So this is 1.960 or 1.96. Okay? And then the last one, number 5. What do we have in this one? We've got division, addition, multiplication. What's this? What do we do here? Brett?
It's, the 2 negatives equal 100.
Very good. What do we have to do first? Right, multiply or divide from order from left to right. So we've got these 2 that we have to do first. 12.3 divided by 1.5. We have to put the number on the inside. The first number goes on the inside. 12.3 divided by 1.5. Now what? Now what? Can we divide these? Not with the decimal point here. We have to move the decimal point out. And then do 15 into 123. Don't we? So, what is that? 15 into 123. How many times does 15 go into 100? Anybody know?
400 times?
Well, 10 times would be 150.
Oh, yeah.
It's gotta be less. Can you count by 15s?
15.
15,
30, 45,
60. Now wait. 60 is 4 times. So what's two 60s?
8.
60 plus 60 is 120. So if we double the 4, we have 8. Let's try 8. 120.
3.
Remaining 3. Now what? Can we finish with a remainder here?
What we bring down to 0?
Bring down the 0. You have to put a decimal point and a 0. Now bring down the 0.
Twice.
15 goes into 30 2 times. So this is 8.2. Now we have to do 3.4 times 8.2. 3.4 times 8.2. Negative 3.4. What is that?
Does that mean negative?
Multiply 8. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 3 is 24. Plus 3 is 27. So this is 8, 9, 7, 2. 2 places behind the decimal point. So 8.2, and this is negative 27.98. Now I'm running out of room here. We have to add these two. 8.2, because this is 8.2, plus negative 27.98, and then plus 3 at the end, right? So, we have to do, let's do this right here, negative 27.98 plus 8.2. Or wait a second, what if we add 3? What if we just take away 3 right here? Should we do that first?
Yeah.
Or we could add 3 to this. What would that be?
11.2.
11.2, so let's do that. That way it simplifies it for us. Since they're all addition, we can add these two together. And then we have 8, 7, 6, 1, negative. Okay.
Negative 16.78.
Yep. These are challenging. There's a lot of adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing with decimals, with fractions. It's basically everything that you have learned since 2nd grade. With adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing, it's all together. Yep. So you're going to practice these for tomorrow.